Bing, bing, whoop, whoop. Bing, bing, whoop, whoop.
John, Marklyn, you there? Maybe? John? Oh,
Hey.
there you are. Hey.
Sorry I'm late, buddy.
Hey, Marklyn.
Hey, sorry, I was collecting my items for today. Welcome everyone. Our video this week is featuring Jason, our sensory specialist from the brewery, and he's going to walk us through the sensory steps and how to evaluate a beer. So again, sorry that we were late. We wanted to have all the right things for the video, but take it away.
So, should we jump right into it?
Yeah, what beers are we going to do, I think?
We're going to start with the funnest beer style, in my opinion, the IPA, and collecting attributes from our kitchen and around the house that best represent flavors that you can find in an IPA. So what I have done, I've gone out and collected these items to represent 4 different categories of flavors you can find in a beer. And the first one is going to be citrus. Like I have here, this is some lemon and a lime. So the best way to train yourself to find notes of lemon and lime in a beer is to start with the actual thing. So that is why John and Marklyn have also collected citrus fruit. What do you have? You have grapefruit and orange.
Yep.
And
Orange as well.
you have?
I have a neat plate to display mine in, but I have orange as well.
Okay. Smells pretty good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Smells like
Orange juice instead of oranges for this?
maybe some fresh squeezed lemonade.
Yeah. There we go.
All right, so when you're smelling those things, you know you're smelling a lemon and lime because it's right in front of you. But what you really want to focus on internalizing that smell. So when you're smelling a beer, you don't have that visual representation. So next up is another category of hop aroma, and that is pine. So this is cut off my pine tree in my backyard
Me too.
about an hour ago. So smelling extra fresh, kind of like pine sol, kind of like pine sap, kind of like Christmas.
There's a nice earthiness to it.
Put it in the cup. Put it in the cup. What does that do? Is that just focusing the aromas for us by putting it in our cups?
Yes, good question. So as John and Marklyn have done a previous video talking about glassware, certain types of glassware concentrate aroma, and that's why putting this in a glass helps to concentrate the pine aroma. Smells great. All right, next up I have fresh cut grass in my backyard. I have not mowed yet this spring, so it's getting
Nor have
extra
I.
long. So I took my scissors out and cut a little patch of grass for myself. So get yourself in there. Kind of sweet, kind of like green apple, but smells like fresh cut grass if anyone has just mowed out there. So kind of internalize that aroma. And lastly, I have floral to represent floral hop aroma. And these are some wildflowers that were growing in my grass that shouldn't be. So I cut those down, as well as some lavender.
Yeah, I have some essential oil lavender. Would that work as well too?
That will, yes. So for those at home that don't necessarily have these sort of things to cut up or cut in their backyard, you can use essential oils to represent flavors found in hops. So I also have lavender essential oil, grapefruit, and then rose and lemongrass. So these are great actually for longevity and shelf life. If you just need a quick retraining, okay, this is what rose smells like, this is what lavender smells like, grapefruit. You can just do a quick sniff on these and then sniff the beer and then be like, okay, that's grapefruit.
Mhm.
And if you're not drinking an IPA, I also have some examples on other sort of flavors that you can maybe collect in your pantry. So these are a stout or a porter, or maybe you're drinking a light lager on a nice hot spring day. And so these things right here are maybe some attributes that you can you can collect from your pantry. We have Rolos, chocolate, some coffee, dried cranberries, I think, and some vanilla. And then for your lager, you have some cracker bread, corn chips, and tortilla chips. So lagers have a lot of corn notes, bready notes. Obviously, lagers are made with a different yeast. And so these sort of things are great to familiarize yourself with those flavors in different styles of beer. We just talked about a lot of fun flavors, positive flavors that are found in beer. But I did want to give an example of how you can produce an off flavor in beer to help yourself train. So what we're going to do is pour a little bit of our beer in a glass, clear glass, and set this in the sun on a windowsill. In my case, it's rainy and gloomy today, but I'm going to set it directly under a lamp. And then we will come back to that in a little bit. So should we jump back into actually tasting the beer and look for some of these citrus, pine, grass, and floral notes?
Ooh, I gotta get another cup.
I'm so ready.
Yes, I know. You've been hanging on to that for so long, Marklyn. So today we are drinking Unraveled IPA, Founder's newest juicy IPA. But if you do not have this beer or even a Founder's beer, a pale ale IPA, any hop forward, hoppy lager will do just fine for this exercise.
So when we're ready to taste the beer, do we just jump right into it, or is there a little bit of work before you get to actually taste it?
Great question. So everyone gets really excited and they drink the beer before they should. So I'm going to teach you guys how to walk through the 4-step process of evaluating a beer like a sensory panelist. And the first step is selecting the appropriate glassware. So this is a kind of a snifter type glass that concentrates the aroma. And I also have with me a cap to even better concentrate the aromas. So 4 steps. First step is to look at it. So use your eyes. Marklyn, are we drinking the same beer? Yours looks a little darker, but could just be the light behind you.
Could be the way I'm holding it.
So your eyes tell you a lot about the beer. This is slight sheen to it, yellow, kind of looks like an IPA. John's is a little bit darker, more of a traditional maltier IPA, I assume. So it implies the flavors you're going to get. So step 1 is look at it. Step 2 is to smell it. And I put this cap on here. So go ahead and get a nice swirl in the glass. And then when you're ready, go ahead and get your sniffer in there. You can do short sniffs, long sniffs. If you kind of keep it from a distance and bring it closer, you can also experience different flavors. Very nice form, John. Looks like you've done it before. And this is the fun part is, you know, you're not able to see a lemon, you're not able to see pine or grass in the beer. You have to use your brain and associate those aromas with the training that you've done. So yes, I get a lot of citrus, a little bit of floral, also some tropical notes. I think a lot of pineapple coming out. John, you're drinking a different beer. What are you getting in there?
Yeah, Centennial. So we did the pine. I'm really kind of picking up some of that. Maybe some bubblegum notes as well too.
Bubblegum?
Yeah.
I heard bubblegums in there. Not actually in there, but it comes from hop.
Mm-hmm.
Any orange, any other citrus notes, grapefruit maybe?
Yeah, a little bit of orange, maybe some grapefruit. Not a lot of lemon though. So I think that's where, like Jason's saying, really kind of citrus is kind of a broad term, but if you start training on the specifics, you can start picking out different types of certain aspects of things.
But yes, so step 2 is aroma. I think we've covered all of the aroma categories found in these beers. And then step 3 is when you finally get to put the liquid in your mouth.
So
take
exciting.
a small sip. So you don't want to take a big gulp and down it. You really want to take a small sip and think about the types of tastes that are in there.
There is a slight bitterness. Unraveled is a juicy IPA, so it's more like really from the just the step of smelling it. It is, we just talked about citrus being a broad term, but I have pineapple cut up that I didn't show our friends, but that's really what I'm getting to, a little bitterness, but then that kind of tropical fruit, kind of like pineapple, a little bit of mango. I don't have mango at my house, but that, it is reminiscent of that. So that's kind of the first, first things I'm tasting.
Okay. So what you're describing is the flavor.
Mm-hmm.
And flavor is a combination of smell and taste.
Mm-hmm.
So you talked about bitterness, maybe some sweetness in there, but then you talked about it tasting like all these different fruits. And that is actually a method of how we smell when the food or liquid is in our mouth. It's something called retronasal. When that food or liquid is in our mouth and the aroma compounds go back into our nose, then we register those aromas. So that is the sensation of flavor. The combination of taste, sweet, sour, bitter, plus those aromas is what you're getting when you put the beer in your mouth.
With the Centennial, it being a different IPA, different hops, obviously, does have a little bit of sweetness, but it has a good amount of bitterness that just kind of lingers with you. Even after I've swallowed it, it's still in my mouth and probably will be there for a good little time.
Right. So that's step 4. Step 4 is to think about the after effects, the mouthfeel of the beer.
So Jason, we've talked about the pleasant side of beer, what we kind of hope to find, the good attributes. So we put that beer in the window.
We purposely skunked the beer, if you call it that. This is producing an off flavor between hop acids and light. And when this happens, it creates a skunk-like aroma. So hopefully you can pull that glass from your windowsill and go ahead and smell it.
And that didn't take too long. What were they up there for? Maybe 5 or 10 minutes?
5 minutes, give or take. So it happens very quickly. And yes, this is what happens when you don't take care of keeping your beer out of the light, or maybe you're buying beer that's in a light, clear bottle, maybe even a green bottle. And like I said, this is an off flavor in this beer specifically, but in other beers, it's not necessarily an off flavor. So people have grown to like that import skunky aroma. And so in those beers, it wouldn't be considered an off flavor. But in our beer, it would be a sign of something happening in the process. Obviously, we don't want our beer to smell like skunk. We want it to smell like lemon, pine, grass, floral.
Yeah, and if your beer tastes like soap a lot, maybe rinse out your glass a little bit better before doing a video, for example.
That too. Beer clean glassware, it's important.
I guess the question that I would have is, if you set these ingredients out in front of you, so you have an orange, an orange smells like an orange, pine needles smell like pine needles, but when it comes to your actual palate, like, is everyone the same? Like, everyone tastes the same, or is it a little different?
Good question. Yes, we're all different, genetically different. And because of that, everyone has a little bit different sensitivities to certain flavors. But I would say it comes down more to training. So even those that are not necessarily, even those that have low sensitivity to flavors can still train themselves to recognize those attributes. So I like to say brain power is over genetic ability. So this process that we did today is really important for you to overcome maybe the tip of the tongue syndrome, where you can't necessarily identify what it is you're smelling, but at least you recognize it in somewhere in your life.
Yeah. And
so
but if you have somebody at home, I know, we've practiced it a little bit, that if you have someone set it up for you and don't get to see like an orange, but just maybe have it in a vessel that you can't see what's inside, and you have to smell it without actually seeing the orange, it's a lot more challenging than people think when you kind of go into it blind without actually seeing what's in front of you just to pick out that aroma. And that's, I think, where the training kind of really helps to really kind of narrow that in and recognize things, like you're saying, kind of training your brain to overcome maybe some of that stuff.
Cool.
Well, Jason, we appreciate you being our special guest, and sorry that we were late today, but we wanted to get all of our things together. But hopefully for our folks viewing the video, you've learned some things about sensory and what you can do at home, whether it's the real item or using oils or things that remind you of those attributes. It really will hopefully help you through the sensory process of drinking beer. And again, you get to drink beer, and so you're learning, and it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, really. And keep it out of the sunlight. He punished us for being late by making us ruin some of our perfectly good beer.
Yeah, that's right.
It wasn't that bad. Yes, thanks everyone. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.